I think we got some of it squared away. One monitor did not like being unplugged. I had to get something in where that's at, and I unplugged it. And now it just messed up all the settings on it. So that screen looks kind of weird. But it is what it is. So, we're going to do some natural edge, bit of a hollow form, sort of. See people doing these on social media. Kind of interesting. So we'll do a natural edge bowl on the outside, and then we'll just sink the wings down a bit, and we'll make a little bit of a hollow form on the inside. That is the plan. As you all very well know, that best laid plans never seem to work, but we're going to give it a whirl. So that's what we're going to do. I've already set the top. If you noticed, I used my thumb. I want to get these two top wings as close to being the same as I can. I want these two lower wings to be the same as well. I set the top ones first. It's just the way I do it. Because setting the bottom ones at this point until we get it remotely round is a whole different scenario. Start out nice and slow, standing off to the side. Line it up till we get some vibration, which probably won't be very high, which it's not. And we'll get her in balance, and then we'll be able to bring our speed up. First cuts go top to bottom, just to get it semi-round. I didn't do quite as horrible of a job as what I normally do on the bandsaw. Still not there. One little flat there. Okay there. So I should be able to verify. As close as I thought I was. On that edge. Fairly close though. So this is the short side, long side. So in this case, the short side needs to come towards me. Now I forget which end is wrong up here. That side. There again, that side needs to come to me. So also why I don't use a point in the live center for this kind of a project. It's just a ring on the end of it. More than enough grip. Gives me the flexibility of moving that little bit in each direction. Because if I had a point in there, I wouldn't be able to do it. Because it would want to go back and follow in the same hole. So, one more check. I think we should be good. Good there. Not so good there. Move it one more little time. I'm not even going to go back and read through it. I'm just going to go from there. Hope I'm right. Think I will be. Close enough anyhow. They're not perfect. I don't get that excited about it. Can we do that? Yes, sort of. That one just a bit. Multi-view. We can get to see the top down and the side view. This is now going to be very wonky on the bottom. So that's our first order of business. Clean off an area out here. Just using the lower wing. Do pretty much a full cut while I'm at that corner. Get rid of that. Well, don't ask me the educated question on how you do it, though. Because we screwed around with that for quite some time and never really figured it out. And I don't know what I managed to change on my own, but it does it both ways now without even me doing anything. It's got a hard spot there, something. No, there's not. I was going to say there had to be something there. Flat enough, true enough. Oh, that's kind of the way I looked at it. Some disappointment. The branch running in through there. Oh, for real. Alright, we're going to get rid of this corner and see what we're going to do there. This might end up dropping down considerably. That tree branch is probably right about where I want the tenant, aka the foot, to be. Yeah, the problem with it doing it in both directions, or both things simultaneously like that, is that I'm really paying more attention to the vertical rather than the horizontal. So the cameras can be off a little bit, which they are. Move that over a little bit that way. Better. Also can't zoom in quite as far, but seems to work a bit. Try and squeak a little more speed out of it. rid of some of it in the fast way. Non-bevel supported cut. It'll tear it to pieces, which it did. I knew that, but got rid of that corner much quicker for me. You stupid knot. I'll get the chuck that I was figuring on using. Got a new set of jaws for my VM100 a week or so back. These are actually a 3-inch jaw. So now I have something in between this one and going to much bigger. I've been quite happy with it so far. I figure we're going to be very close to that. Definitely don't want that punky knot in there though. Always can have disappointments. So I'm going to have to get somewhat below that. Getting a little aggressive. Man. This might not end up working as a hollow form that I would want it to. It's going to be a very shallow hollow form. Just try not to lose anything out there on that end. Willigers. It's a shame. It's got a little figure in the bottom of it. Not that it wouldn't make any difference, but gotta get past the get past it's getting bigger. Not a good scenario. I'm going. Ay, 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 ay. Like a tree branch or something, but there's no evidence of it coming through on the top. And it's just kind of weird. definitely don't want that in the foot. It's even going to grow even more yet up through there. So that's the branch coming out through there, I guess. I guess we're getting somewhere. I guess. Other than making a giant sized pile of chips for nothing. Definitely still there. I can feel it thumping along. Ooh, goodness. Don't that just bite me ass. You ain't kidding. Almost like it almost can't be the same one. Hmm. That thing wants to come out. And a piece of it. How big of a piece fell out now? The whole thing? Part of the thing? Okay. Now, question is, where's the tendon's going to fall? Right about where that sucker is at. Hmm. Yeah, but now I'm looking at the possibility of just leaving that chunk out of it. If I drop down in size, so that's another 3/8 of an inch deeper in there. I really want to go that deep. I don't normally do them. Not certainly not what I had in mind to do. Put it that way. Hmm. Let's see if I can mark this tendon, see where it's going to land. Doesn't feel like it landed in that hole. Yeah, I knew what you were talking about. I guess that's the size we're going to go with there. Uh, just keep on trucking, as they would say. It's going to leave a hole, I'm sure. But I have now I have solid material in there. I guess we'll just try and get some sort of a shape out of it. And keep it fairly big in diameter. Yes, that won't be too bad. I guess. So I'll make a tenant. We'll figure it out from there. Oh, half decent curve. Actually, even some bug holes up there. So if that stays, I think I can live with that. As long as I don't go less than 1/4 of an inch out there. Shouldn't poke a hole through. Of course, that's always the shouldn't part, but I still have my watch on. Get rid of that. You were working kind of late there the other night, Todd. Last night, was it? I guess it was last night. I'm usually not that motivated to be working at such an hour. So we'll just raise the tool rest up a bit. Use the trusty scraper. Finish making this nice shape. Oh, okay. Well, that's nice of you then. Don't touch that, you dummy. It's got a hole in there to poke your fingers. Sure, I wanted to pick it up a little bit. Do a little shear scrape with it. Take care of that. It's going to be in that lower third. Doesn't get it all. He's going to go out. Okay. So, good for this scraper running into the steel ductwork above me. Always helps the edge. So I think we'll give that a quick sand before I get rid of this huge lump down here. This is definitely just going to be a little bit of a natural edge piece. Not what we were planning on. It's not I don't think it's deep enough on the inside. We might look at it and try it a little bit. Never seen anybody do them in a live demonstration, so I'm not totally sure how they were going about it. So I would just sort of be winging it on my own, which is not unusual for me, but I got a little bit of picked up grain in there, so I did go back to 120. Probably wouldn't have had to, but it only takes a couple seconds to get rid of it. You might as well. I'm not really even going to worry about that little bit down there by the tenant right now, anyhow. See what we're going to get out of it. Very nice looking piece of cherry, though. Got the left of some big hairy scratches, which you're not going to get with 400. Should have looked a little harder. They're 120 scratches. Nothing says we can't do all three of the finer grips the same way. Probably spin it when I get to 400, though. Jeez. I'm missing all kind of little places tonight. I guess not, just one. That'll work. Now we get some of this other stuff down here so that we can cut it off. Flip it around. Back to my spindle gouge. Knock that little razor blade corner on. That even has some of the curly grain in there. You saw the tool wanted to bounce. I think that's what that was. Hopefully it's not in a knot. Yeah, it's got some little bit of a figure to it there. Always a disappointment when it has some figure in it and you can't utilize it, but you can't have it all. Got a little place to cut it off. I should clean that up before I do that. Not that I'm not going to have to come back and do something with anyhow with this foot, but I just make me feel better, I guess. Correct. The flute is less difference, less deep. Um, let's see, where's the best place to do it overhead? So that's what you're talking about right there. They're both 3/8. Simple way to tell the difference between the two. If I put my thumb on the gouge, this is a spindle gouge in my hand. I can touch the bottom of the flute. The other thing with a deep fluted bowl gouge, you could never touch the bottom of the flute. Um, Even though you got it from Doug, this should have been, the spindle gouge is generally between 40 and 45 degrees. Bowl gouge is 55 to 60 degrees. Yeah, so I mean, they're all fairly similar, but that's the simplest way to tell them apart. That's what I try and teach to people. And I actually give them a test on at the end of the class because I hand them both the small ones. They use 1/2 inch stuff the whole way through the class, like in the bowls. When we go to remove the bottom of the bowl of the tenant, then I have them use the 3/8 tools, just so that the 3/8 tools you can get in much closer in that area to work. So that makes it easier because you don't have as much of a leftover piece in there to have to remove, if that makes sense. Spindle gouge is a much lighter weight tool as well. Not that you can't use a spindle gouge on like the outside of a bowl if you're doing bowls. You certainly can. You just can't make really kind of giant size cuts. That's zoomed in nicely. Because if you watch Richard Raffin at all, I mean, he almost solely uses his spindle gouge for the outside of a bowl. It works for him. He can be very aggressive with it. So, you're quite welcome. Missed a other place back there screwing around saying something. Well, such is life. We're going to spin it, make sure. Put the speed back down. The verification tool rest I noticed is going to be too low for that gouge. Now I can bring the speed up to whatever you're comfortable with. They're quite decent now. I have room to do my wings. I don't want to remove too much material in the middle because I need it to be stable. For me, that's right eye, left eye. Right eye is looking on this side, left eye is looking on that side. Trying to get myself in a position generally means my right hip is up against the right leg, is up against the bed, so that I'm literally sideways as I do that, so I can look down. Nose would be right in the center of that, somewhere thereabouts, so that as I look down there, you'll be able to visually see the thickness as you go down, especially on a natural edge piece. Flat rim's a little bit different, but it'll still help you get started. Leaving my steps as I go down. I get that close to the edge and I gotta curve them. And get behind that one. Now to get behind that cut so I can pick it up. I'll stop and verify it. No big ridges, always a plus. If this was going to be deep enough, which is not really, be about an inch and a quarter deep. I might look at something. This is what these people are doing with some of the natural edge. Then they're going to make this center section into make a dome. I probably already went down too far for that. And curl it back into there, and then hollow that. Use hollowing tools and hollow that out. But hardly seems worthwhile because there's probably at best an inch and a quarter of material left in the bottom. Not even. More like only an inch. My brain's thinking of other dumb things that we could do. I'll try that another day. Which will rest in a little bit. Helps you, any place that helps you is dead center. Stop and take a little feely. See what we got. Too abrupt. A little thick in the middle. A little thick from there down. Always a good thing. Nothing wrong with that. You can always take more off, but it's a bit of a challenge to put it back. Huh. Yeah, if I was smart enough to be able to get back in and pull them off, you're right. I've never tried that. I should try that. That is one thing with where that camera's at. I'm sure there's plenty of people docked the first time because they're probably literally running right straight for it. Off the little hump. So do you pull that clip off of there using the YouTube Studio? Is that how you would do that? Ask a dumb question? Oh, okay. I didn't know if when you're in the YouTube Studio, you can supposedly edit some videos. I didn't know if you could pull it out of there easy enough or not. I think I should do it. Mm, quit chasing. That's a DaVinci Resolve is a computer hog. Um, on those rare occasions that I actually managed to edit videos, I use CapCut. A little bit less of a, that's a lot less of a computer hog. I'm just kind of being extra fussy right there. Probably just successfully moving a little ridge higher and higher instead of getting rid of it, but oh well. And we go. Yeah, people must have more to do on Sunday nights now. Last Sunday night there was hardly anybody joined in the same way tonight, so who knows? The old trusty crapshoot. We'll need 2 inch. And I haven't been doing any of the lives during the week either. Working on a rather large door for a person. One of the I sort of call them a sliding barn door, which is sort of what they remind me of, put it that way. So I've been working on that when time permits this week. In the retired life, you don't have the time that you think you do, probably because you get sidetracked in doing other things than maybe like what you should be doing, like going shooting more than what you normally would. Yes. Hi. Yeah, Todd, I use a speech chat program. So yeah, I hear them. That's why I have earbuds in. Well, not really earbuds, they're over ear things. Yes. When you send a message, that's I hear it. I may not always be able to totally understand what you said, but See, I don't know that I know the difference on my screen. Messy. No. I heard somebody say about the vertical, but huh. I don't know. I just always assumed that I would hear both. Okay, well, my speech chat shows me both, I guess. Huh. Well, maybe I'm back. Maybe I'll be back to square one. Try and get it to go just to the vertical. I can see the. I technically I can see the comments in two different places. They actually look like they're the same in both places. I don't know. Not quite my day. Hard to get the right amount of pressure out on the wings on these. Once again, I did some fanning with 120 in there. And I left those scratches behind, of course. Well, I get the message for both. I think I got them. Well, now I could believe that's yeah, the audience they may not be. Some of that depends on how you're holding. Like if you're watching it on a phone, and then there's some of the people I might watch on the phone. If I turn it over to more of a, so it's a bigger picture, basically would be horizontal, then you lose the chat. There, now I'm happy with the inside. Outside's going to be a different story. Oops. Down like that. I don't know. I'm certainly not definitely not the technical mastermind when it comes to the streaming end of it. Nothing says we can't sand a little bit. This is 800 grit sandpaper. Little random orbit with 800, especially up on those wings where you know that's a place that didn't get sanded as well as everywhere else. Those little 800 grit scratches, even though they're in a sort of a circular sort of a pattern, your eye can't pick those up. There's the razor blade on the inside. And to get rid of the outside razor blade part. So that's kind of a little ugly duckling. That was not supposed to be an ugly duckling. I saw scratches on the outside somewhere. Tenant wasn't quite right. Tiny little notches in there where the chuck clamped down on it. It needed to be just a shade bit smaller. They're actually of the size that you can actually sand them off. No, I didn't want to do that. We're going to go ahead and we're going to finish this up since things are messed up on the stream anyhow. So show you a different way of getting rid of the tenant. It's certainly not for everybody, because it's like a lot of the other stuff that I might do. It's not necessarily the cheapest, most economical kind of a way. Big one? No, little one. We'll grab it and using vacuum. Okay. Now my way of getting it, I actually have a shaft that will thread into my chuck. The shaft is not meant to be turned with because they are aluminum. I think the actual Morris taper part of them is steel, but the rest of it's just aluminum. So you can't just throw your chuck on there on a Morris taper like that. It would not be a grand gesture to do, put it that way. It wouldn't hold it. It would probably damage the threads on the shaft, I would think. Never tried it, don't really intend to, because it's another one of them kind of dumb little things that cost more than what you would think. But in my area, more my area, I can pull 27 pounds of mercury, which is how they judge the vacuum. So it's under quite strong. You can't get it off. Right. That's what they're made for, things like that. Also, they're made to come off easy if I can get a hold of it. But I can't get a hold of it for some reason tonight. Weak in my old age. Just because it's solid, I still bring a tailstock up for a bit, because I'm going to clean up this area down here along my tenant. I may actually shrink it down a little bit. Definitely have to sand this little area down in here. There's somewhere I saw some scratch. There's some scratches right there that we have to get rid of. That will run pretty true. Never perfectly true. On occasions, you might get one that actually runs perfectly true, but which is kind of amazing. I mean, you're still in line. It's Kind of one of them things that you would think it would run dead true every time, but it doesn't. It's not far off. So if we're going to do that, I might as well come in from the other side and do a little bit of an undercut into that foot. And as I drop the handle, I'll sweep back. Too big. And do the same thing on the other side, and it will create us a little beaded foot. Semi-beaded. This is a great time to figure out that you've made the inside bigger than the outside too. It's very exciting. Sounds like a cannon going off. If you pull that, if that pulls it, the vacuum pulls that center out. It's actually quite loud. I only ever had the misfortune of doing it once. I sort of did it on purpose in a way. I knew it was thin, and I literally took my finger and went bing. And when I went bing, it was so thin that it popped the hole right straight through it. Kind of neat. So this is kind of the other issue is now I have to go back in and resand some of this stuff. Kind of weird. Some of this cherry does not like to, for some reason, doesn't want to cut as cleanly as it should in there. But our scraper will take care of that pretty quick and easy. Hopefully that'll cut it clean. Feels like it did. Make sure we're undercut. We didn't cut it clean. So we'll have to hump in the middle. Yeah, it did. Might as well see if we can be extra dumb and stick a scraper in there and try and blend that out a little better. Nope. It's going to require a little bit of power sanding on that. That tiny bit off leaves ridges out there, but kind of is what it is. This is also one of the times I do not sand this in reverse though. It's sort of aluminum on steel.
So it may not necessarily cooperate. It isn't sticking fast like it would if it was steel and steel. This is how I finish them all, pretty much on the bottom. Nice, really would be nice if we had such things that over at Woodcraft to do, but be able to do this with, but we don't, so they just get jammed on there onto the block, get the majority of it off, and the last little bit off the bottom. The rest of it we'll do by hand. Confucius once say you should have did that before you power sanded that. But we'll get her. Should have put some lines in there too. Never too late for that though. Just gives the piece a little bit of uplift off the table, which is what I like. Long point of the skew will do just fine to make these grooves. And of course make two. If you're going to make the third groove in there, then you have to do that thing called measuring. Because if it's off a little bit, almost anybody's eye can pick that one up. They don't have to be much of a woodworker or somebody that sees things that are out of place. So I stop at two. You could put a third one way in towards the middle and get away with that. There's my lovely scratches that I got behind. I'll probably just stop and re-sand that whole outside again and be done with it. Shouldn't have to start very Very coarse in the grip though. They're not real big scratches. Just big enough so you can see them. As long as I use a nice soft pad, it sort of goes along with the bump. Everybody looks at the bottom. Mainly, like for me, at a whichever craft show or even at the store, that's probably the first thing they looked at. Because 9 times out of 10, that's where the price tag's at for the most part. That's why people always have to look at the bottom of things. Of course, I was taught very early on that you finish the bottom of it, bottom of whatever piece it is, to the same level as you did the entire piece. I don't remember who it was that said that to me, but probably Jimmy Cruise. He's like, you gotta finish the bottom. Everybody's gonna look at the bottom. Shows you cared enough to do it. Yeah, put the price tag of a couple hundred. Well, now, yeah. If I was gonna do something like that to my wife, instead of it being a price tag, there'd probably be a little note like, saying that there should be something happening later, as in generally speaking, bedroom later. Of course, she'd get a laugh out of him. Get the same answer would probably be the same either way. Like, no, it's not happening. Okay, about to tail stack back up because I'm going to put finish on this while we're here. I do not want to do it under vacuum. Have a really bad day. Yeah, well, I got a few years on you on that one, but you know where I'm going with that. Because this we don't definitely do not do my typical super glue finish. Is what, of course, that's what I'm going to put on it. Definitely do not do that under vacuum. Any way I can get away with doing it under vacuum is if, like I have one back here that I have to finish doing the same thing I just did on the bottom of it. Um, if the other side was finished already and cured, set up 20 as in 24 hours later, then I could get away with grabbing it using the vacuum because very unlikely it would pull through it. But this down in here, I mean, it's probably 5/16 inch thick. So if I got a little thin down in here in any one of them spots and it'd be under a vacuum, it would pull it right straight through. And then you'd have a whole different scenario of really big problem, as in super gluing the pads that are on the vacuum chuck fast.
It is not a good scenario, not at all. This one is from, I think their name was called Odd Knots. I haven't seen them around in quite some time. Um, kind of had a weak moment because they were pretty expensive. They were over $100 for these for the two of them that I got. I mean, they are nice, but the simple bottom line of that is that the PVC pipe or pipe fittings on a wooden sort of, I use it like a wooden faceplate because I have the Beal tap to actually tap wood for my spindle size. I can show you once I get this finished up. I have quite a number of them that I've made over the years, bigger, smaller, things like that, and they work just as well. And they're a whole heck of a lot cheaper. The vacuum pump, the vacuum original vacuum setup came from the frugal vacuum guy, probably more years ago than what I'd like to even think about. That time his setup cost about 175 or $200. But I know some other people that have done the vacuum setup, and you just go to Harbor Freight or one of them places and get a vacuum pump. It's not real rocket science. You do want a gauge on the pump. I mean, the bottom line is it depends on what did they explain it to me? Your sea elevation, where you are in part of the country. Todd, you're not that terribly super far away from me. You would probably still be able to get up into that 25 to 27 pounds of mercury, which will hold a lot. But if you're only going to use it for this process, I don't know that it's necessarily super cost effective, I guess you'd say. Um, I do stabilize some wood and things like that as well. Not very often, but so I do need it sort of for that. So that's our bottom done. Surprisingly enough, these do get quite tight on there. And of course, these particular ones would be thread specific. I know you're using the small lathe, so you got a 1 inch spindle, but there's other ways of doing it. Like I say, there's a homemade one. It's all wood, a little bit of foam on the outside edge, just a piece of PVC. I think that's like a 4 inch coupler. Glue it in, put some sort of sloppy finish on it the whole way around on the wood part. Because if you don't, it pulls a vacuum through there because the vacuum is coming through these threads, and you won't be able to pull as good of a vacuum. Once you get that made and put it on there, then you can true up this outside edge before you put your plastic or foam. There's also some setups that you can make yourself. Piece of lamp rod. It has a bearing in there. It's a little wooden jam. That will actually, this is not long enough. This was for the old days. And you could actually pull that with a nut on the other end, pull it through the headstock, and then just to attach a piece of plastic hose on that end. If you're really fancy, you could put a quick disconnect or something on that end. Will work pretty much the same way. Um, Actually, a lot of them just use this plastic pipe, and then just attach that to the bearing and some sort of a wooden or plastic or something to go in here and make a seal go through to the other end. There's quite a number of different things out there that you can do with them, use them for. These manufacturer ones, there's actually a bearing sitting down in there, and this is threaded around the bearing, and it still just has a piece of pipe sticking out the back. I cut them off because I didn't want that running out through the back because it has a tendency to flop around. It's just kind of a distraction. At least that's the way I viewed it. You have a Laguna. Unfortunately, they're not exactly overly cheap, but Laguna. Let me pull this off in a second. Oh, I got to get this off. The Lagunas are threaded, going on into the tailstock end. So they do make an adapter to go right into that, which is what I have. See in a second, because I got to take it back off. Just an adapter. It does it there again. It has a bearing in here. Yeah, they're not. Especially like in your case, you have the Laguna. No, I don't remember what this came with something goofy on this back end. I don't. It didn't have no quick disconnect fitting on it. I had a hard time getting that broke free from in there because it's threaded. But once that's in the, like in your case, in my case, once this is in the back, then whatever you put on this end, as long as it seals around this area and through the threads, pretty much anything will work on it. But the dumb little thing, I know when I bought it, I want to say it was 70 some dollars or something then. And that's been several minutes ago, put it that way. I think I bought that right after I bought my lathe. I'm like, that just made life so much simpler. So we'll go back to the same chuck and set up. This time when we go clamping down on it, we will just snug it up. Just enough force, literally just snug it so that it can't pop down. Wow, I reduced that. So we're good. That's more what I was looking for. That's in that perfect circle range. In a Vicmark chuck, that's about a 16th of an inch. It's definitely less than an eighth, closer to that 16th. A little fat 16th or something. And then that will be the perfect circle, in which it will not leave any marks. Especially in that case there, when it's got a little bit of a bead. More importantly, there's a groove for those. These jaws are very sharp on the edges, so it's literally sinking down in that groove. So it does a really wondrous job of not leaving unwanted marks behind, which is what I like. I like to be able to finish the foot. Can't always do it on a natural edge piece, but you can finish the majority of it before you ever flip it around to do the other part. We'll even do the top rim a little bit. See all the black. That's sort of the little bit of the cambium layer or whatever left over. Just gives it a different look. Yeah, I mean, that's nothing wrong with that. I mean, you're left with a little bit in the center that you got to clean up, but yeah, it becomes an issue of, is it really worth that kind of money to not be able to do that? And a same token, I think I've seen you have cold jaw, or yeah, not the cold jaw, yeah, cold jaws for on a chuck. A lot of people buy them. It's like, well, by the time you bought the cold jaws, and you probably like most other people, you turn around and bought another chuck because you don't want to be taking those jaws on and off. Well, you just pretty much paid for a vacuum setup.
So it becomes an issue of, is it really
much different. Granted, the cold jaws can do you some other good things. Like if you're doing some segmented work, you can hold some of that stuff with that. But
that's it. That's all she wrote. Inside, outside. This gets signed yet. That's why I didn't put anything in there. Left that little blemish in there.
right,
Right. Yeah, a lot of people do segment work like the cold jaws. I have a set of the Longworth ones. If I could ever find somebody dumb enough that would want to buy it, I would sell that thing in a heartbeat. I definitely would not. I would not recommend the Longworth ones. They don't hold things as well as you might like them to. I'll put it that way. I mean, you're all right, like on the bottom of a flat rim bowl or something like that. As long as all your force is only going towards the headstock, they do all right. But eventually, you got to make a little cut going across, and that's when they want to. That's when even the cold jaws. As soon as you make that cut going across, then it wants to try and pull them out. So I don't own a set of cold jaws. Never bought one. Never really found a need for them. So there we go. That's it. I see you're friends with Jake that does all the casting. Time to find a little, oh, what was this? A little bowl, I think. I don't know if I could find some around here. I'd make some more. I made my jam block out of resin, so it never goes out of round. It never goes out of true. I have two different ones for a couple different size chucks. But that's what I would jam if I'm going to jam something headstock to tailstock. I use this rather than using the chuck. This doesn't leave any marks.
neither here nor there. And you can make them out of wood as well. The ones I use at Woodcraft are made out of wood. Because they don't. The bottom line is, and a lot of the people in the classes get really excited about things like that. Just like this one, even though you saw me mount it on there and it did not spin perfectly true. And I'm like, it really doesn't matter. I mean, in my case, I did true up this outside edge a little bit, but as far as the bottom goes, it doesn't matter that it's a little bit out of kilter because you're just going to make it flat. Now, that being said, if it's something that was 8, 10, 12 inches tall, then you get a little bit out of, a fair amount out of whack at the bottom of that, then you might have a problem. It might lean. And yes, that's experience talking because I have one upstairs that's probably every bit of 12 inches tall. And I did it that way, and I'm so used to doing bowls, and I'm like, it's close enough. And get the bottom finished, and you sit it on the table, and you go across the room. It's like, yeah, that thing. For me, it has a lean. I know most people won't see it, but it does for me. So, other than that, I think that's going to be a wrap. I try and figure out some computer things. Whether I do that today, probably not. Like I said, I changed. I got to work on this other monitor over here because I don't know. It didn't cooperate when I unplugged it and then I plugged it back in. It threw the aspect ratio or something is way off on it. So, but at any rate, we'll be back next Sunday night. Try and work on some things so this maybe I'll try and employ it to get just do the vertical and see whether that makes a difference. So. Till next week, everybody have a good night and a good week, and we'll see you then.